On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at a rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Michelle Dockery in the TV show This Town. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So a bit of a different one for tonight because we have looked at actors in the past who are singing in movies or TV shows, but their voices have been pitch corrected or auto-tuned to make them sound more accurate than they were in real life. So I haven't seen this show. This is called This Town, and this is Michelle Dockery who's going to be singing it. So let's get it up on screen. There's a link in the description below, as always, if you want to watch this without me interrupting it. But let's have a listen.
When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around.
I'm just going to give a little bit of background because in the scene, Michelle's character goes to the front of the church. I think this is a funeral service that they are at, and she's just singing, and it seems like people don't want her to be there or something. I don't watch the show, but that's the kind of vibe I'm getting. But then she stands up and just starts singing anyway.
Heaven opens a magic lane.
And I am actually going to get rid of this because this is Michelle doing a fantastic job, because what she's doing here is she's singing, but she's acting at the same time. And I've mentioned this about great performers in musical theatre when they are singing, but as a character. So they're putting all of the personality of the character into the voice as well. And this is what Michelle's doing. And you can tell that, actually, I'm going to put a picture of Michelle on screen because you might not even recognise her. She was in a show called Downton Abbey, and that's a show that my parents watch. I haven't watched it, but I do recognise her face from that. When we're looking at her voice, you can see how she's got this wavering quality to it because of, you know, putting the emotion across of the character in the situation that she's in.
Opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow.
And I'm going to jump in here because what I love about this is, I mean, first of all, Michelle's vocal ability and the ability to do this, to act and put so much emotion into the vocal and perform it in such a convincing way, but also the producers of the TV show that have just left this as it is and just allow Michelle to be the character and just sing it how she sings it without pitch correcting it. Because if you, and there have been cases in TV shows and movies that we've looked at where it's been pitch corrected and it just loses all emotion and all relevance, because now it just sounds a bit stupid because it's like somebody playing a keyboard rather than a human voice. But you can see that, yeah, this is totally Michelle's voice. It's totally unedited, and we can see on the pitch monitoring software that we're not really conforming to any tuning. You know, here we're right between notes, and here we're kind of between, and as we kind of move forward a bit, now you can see that when we enter in to this G-sharp 4, we actually start well flat of it and we go actually quite significantly sharp, and then we come down between. So this is a voice that has relevance to itself because obviously there's no accompaniment, so you don't have that to gauge it, against, or know where the voice should be. But when you're listening to somebody just sing, you just judge the voice, or you don't even judge it, you listen to it. And the only thing that's going to give you the pointers as to where the pitch should be is, of course, the melody of the song, because you will know that, especially Somewhere Over the Rainbow, you know where the note should be, but more importantly, you know the intervals. The intervals are the most important thing, and when I say that, it's the distance between your notes, so that you are singing notes of a scale. Even if you're singing the notes of a scale between these lines, as long as they're all relevant to each other, it doesn't really matter where these lines are. All that matters is where your voice is and where your notes are in relation to each other. But let's have a listen on.
Rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby, somewhere over the rainbow.
So let me just explain these intervals, and what I'm talking about is, if you are using these lines as a guide, we're above the G sharp 4 here, and when we come down to the G4, the semitone below, we are sharp of that as well. So it means that where we started, we've gone down the exact correct amount. If an instrument was being tuned to where Michelle's voice is, the next note down would be there. It would be sharp. And as we come down here, again, we're not on the line, which means that all of this is going to make sense from an interval perspective, because here, again, we're sharp. So we've got all of these notes that are being sung in exactly the same way, exactly the correct distance apart.
Skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
And this is why it just makes sense musically, because we're being given these notes so accurately, kind of one after the next.
Bye, Nana.
Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the
Here we go. So this is the passage where, when we looked at Judy Garland singing it, I pointed out, of course, her intervals, being able to go down and look at this, the D sharp 4, pretty much bang on, slightly sharp, pretty much bang on, slightly sharp, pretty much bang on, slightly sharp, slightly sharp. So these intervals, if you were to do away with these lines, you would see, the lines are quite good to show you that this C4, when she goes down to it, she's always slightly sharp of it. So it means that she's consistently hitting these notes, and the na 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 na, it's going back to exactly where you left it. And that is going to be pleasing to the ear, because every time you hit a note, your ear and your brain is storing that pitch as a reference point. So when you go back up to that, your ear is now effectively coming up with the key itself. It now knows, if you, for example, went na 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 na, and I did that, your ear would say, oh, that wasn't right, that was out. But you can say to yourself, well, how do you know that? How do you know that that note wasn't supposed to be there? It's because your ear has made that determination on the pitches that it's already heard, going na 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 na. That last one, it doesn't have the same relationship, it doesn't have the same intervals that you've been fed. So when it changes and it's ever so slightly out, it's amazing, because you don't have to be musical to know that, to hear a pitch and go, oh, that sounded sharp, that sounded flat, or that person can't sing in tune. Well, how do you know that? Your ear tells you so. So great example here of hitting the intervals just absolutely spot on. And of course here the melody changes from na 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 na. So we go up a semitone to the C sharp 4. So again, intervals absolutely bang on there.
clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. that's where you find
That's what I'm talking about.
me.
Truth.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
The other thing that's really impressive here is that throughout a whole performance, pitch will drift when there's no backing to be singing over the top of. You haven't got a reference point. Michelle hasn't got a reference point here. She's just singing. But looking at her consistency of how she's always ever so slightly sharp of where she would be, or at least, we could move these lines. So say, for example, I wanted this G sharp 4 to be a little bit higher, or this line to be a little bit higher. I would move it to 446 hertz, something like that. So these would now be on the lines. So throughout this performance, she is singing with such accurate intervals that she would be over the lines all the time. And she's not really drifting. And this is why it just sounds great the whole way through.
Bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh why can't I?
And there we have it. So yes, so many cool things about this. Because first of all, it's actually a live vocal. This is happening. The audio that we're hearing is not edited. It's just Michelle singing, and therefore it's going to have, the optimum emotional impact, because nothing's getting in between the voice and your ears, and the emotion within the voice, obviously acting it in this way to put this emotion into it is just great as well. But look at her consistency again. When I say that she's slightly above the line, you've got to kind of try and ignore these lines and only use them as a reference point to show how accurate her voice is with the intervals that she is placing there herself. And this kind of thing, I mean, when she went up to that note that I almost said it was a C5, but it's not really, because the interval's just, again, spot on, going up sharp, because that's where she set up her key effectively for this whole performance. You could say that it's great casting because Michelle can do this in another version. Imagine that there's another version of This Town, in an alternate universe, where there's another actor playing the same part who can't sing. Their only option would be to pitch correct it or auto-tune it, and then you would lose everything about the emotion of this performance. So yeah, just a massive hats off to Michelle, this performance and her vocal ability, but being able to just roll this all up into this performance of the character that she's playing in this show. So yeah, thank you guys for linking me to this video, because I know that it was a bit of a different request. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below, and keep those suggestions and requests coming for future videos. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!